Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Lois and this is Pete.
And welcome to our van build video. After watching a few of these videos, we've decided to make this one a little bit different and tell it in a storybook kind of format.
So grab yourself a cuppa, sit back and enjoy.
Right, so for anybody that hasn't been on the channel before or watched our videos, we are triathletes.
So two of the main reasons we bought the van is before we both had cars. Mine was the biggest car out of them both, which was a Honda Civic, and when we were travelling to races it was a bit of a job getting all the bikes in, the gear in, and when we wanted to go say on location to train, like to the lakes, we'd go for a 3-night stay. It'd cost us like £270–300, and we thought, there must be a cheaper way of doing this, plus a better way of getting all our gear from one place to another place. So,
Hashtag Vanlife.
yeah, and that's why we decided to buy a van.
So after doing a bit of research, we thought, right, which camper van shall we buy? I know, everyone else buys the VW Transporter, so let's look into that.
Firstly, the Transporter, they're quite expensive, that's the main thing. Secondly, they're quite small for what our needs are, so they didn't really fit what we needed.
Yeah, I've got a few friends that have the Transporter, and I looked inside and I realised that it wouldn't suit our needs for a camper van. We've got 2 bikes to get inside, we've got all our equipment, and we didn't want to be on top of each other throughout a 15-16 day period, so we thought this wasn't suitable enough for us.
So then we looked at the Mercedes Sprinter van, which obviously is a fantastic van, but when you look at a van similar size compared to like a Ford Transit van, you're talking about £5,000 extra. Plus then when you're replacing any parts, if anything went wrong, obviously you've got the increased cost of parts as well. Yeah.
So after being on the internet, scouring about for places to buy the van, we came up across this dealership in Middlesbrough that had plenty of the transit vans for sale, so we popped down there and had a mooch around.
So the first van we looked at was the Ford Transit, but the smaller one. So I was fine when I stood up in it, but I think Pete really struggled. His neck was like that.
Yeah, you might as well have chopped my head off.
Yeah, so we kind of thought for comfort long term, the lower van wouldn't have suited our needs.
And parked next to it was the high top versions, so we asked for the keys for that, and we got inside that and quickly realised that this was the van for us basically. So we had options of 3 high top vehicles at this particular dealer. One had low mileage and was a bit younger but was more expensive. Then there was a higher mileage one which had way too many miles on, like 150,000 miles or something like that, ridiculous, and it was only 4 years old. And then the middle one was kind of best and worst of both worlds, but I think we decided we wanted the lowest mileage for more money, but we thought it'll be future proof, so we asked for the keys for that one and took it for a test drive. So when I was looking at the first van, the second time we went round to look at it, I noticed it had a gearbox fluid leak. This was no good, so I went in to see the guy and said, you need to get that fixed before we buy it. So he said, yeah, just leave it with me, no problems. After that we got the phone call to go and pick it up. We were all excited, and just for safety I took my friend Gareth, shout out Gareth, thanks a lot for this, just as a second pair of eyes, because he knew what he was looking at a lot more than I did. With that he noticed that not only had they not fixed the original leak, all they'd done is clear up around the area so it looked like they'd cleaned it, and in fact they hadn't, they were just trying to pull the fast one. So basically we just went in and told them where to stick it. So this is the most important thing: always go with a reputable dealer or it's going to cost you, and cost you big. So then we found a reputable dealer and shot over there and had a look at their vans instead.
Yeah, and we found the van that we eventually chose, and we decided to part ex the Honda Civic, get some money off that, and then here we are driving home in our van, very happy.
Yeah, and this one was cheaper, younger and less mileage than the original one we were going to buy, so it was a win-win situation. As you can see here, I've taken out all the boards that came with the van, and it's just a bare shell, and looking at it I was thinking, oh, what have I started here? So I thought, right, let's get stuck in and get this project started. At this point I think we got a bit overexcited and decided, what the hell, let's just go away in it anyway before we've even started.
Yeah, so I think we'd literally spent a couple of days doing a bit of insulating to the bottom of the van. We hadn't even covered it up, there was dust everywhere, so we put a mattress in the back, our bikes, some clothes, and we went to the lakes, didn't we? And we had a pretty good weekend, didn't we? It
was, yeah, really wet our beaks for the travel bug.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we were still working full time, training for races, and we used to come home every night and do a couple of hours each night, and then spend quite a lot of hours on it at the weekend. We were shattered, weren't we?
I was, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, I think the most important thing with the van build is to get the insulation right. If you get the insulation right, you'll feel warm, comfortable, and you'll enjoy the experience a lot more. We use this Kingspan that we got from B&Q. We came in 100mm sheets, 50mm sheets which we didn't buy, and the 25mm sheets. We used the 100mm sheets for the cavities inside the van wall, which I'll show you now, to fill it up, and then we used expandable foam to fill in the bits that the insulation couldn't reach. Then, for the walls, we use the 25mm sheets. I use this floor adhesive to spray on the back, spray it on the wall, stick it on. We also use silver masking tape to seal the sides. I didn't use rock wool because the condensation that gathers in the van makes it all wet, and then you just got wet insulation which isn't insulating anything basically. So when we were putting the insulation boards on the wall, we had to think of something. We really had to use our heads. No, we really had to use our heads.
Yeah, so for the ceiling, we had this little footstool in the van, and we'd spray obviously the back, spray the ceiling, and
with
then
the glue.
Yeah, and then Pete would have me stood on the little footstool with my head pressing up against the ceiling, trying to keep the board in place to save our arms, and it worked.
Yeah, it stuck it eventually.
Yeah.
After a lot of moaning and swearing.
Yeah. So as the time progressed and the weeks and the months passed by, we'd done a bit more to the van, we got it more insulated, we'd bought more camping gear, and we kind of had a bit more of an idea of what we were doing.
And every time we went away it was a lot more fun because we had the more equipment, obviously the toilet and all the camping stuff, and made it more livable every time we went away.
Yeah, because the first time we went away we had to be like bears in the wood, if you know what I mean.
So after a long month of insulating the van, we decided to cover it all with this silver bubble wrap stuff. We did this for two purposes. It gives another layer of insulation, and it provides a moisture barrier between the wood and the insulation for the condensation. So the wood that I use for the bed stanchions and the cupboard is just old reclaimed wood from pallets. It's free, it does the job, and there's literally wooden gold everywhere you look, so keep your eyes open. So when we bought the van, it already came with this wood already on the walls, so I decided to reuse it for around the bed stanchions and inside the kitchen cupboard. This just keeps the cost down and reuses old wood. So the only wood we really bought is this Conti board. We used it for the face of the wardrobe, the kitchen worktop and the tabletop. And because we only needed two boards, it kept the cost down, it was pretty cheap. So when you screw in the wooden slats to the walls, you can't just screw it straight to the metal. That's where these chipboard packers come in. What you do is you screw the packer to the metal part of the wall, then get the wooden slat, screw it into the packer. Unfortunately, we came across a problem when we started screwing the wood to the walls. We were using these 25mm screws to screw it in, but unfortunately we found when we were trying to screw the screw into the wood, sometimes it would split the wood across there. Then you'd have to go and cut the wood again, and it was all a nightmare. So the solution to this was to simply drill a pilot hole first into the wood and then screw the screw into the pilot hole, and it solved the problem.
So, being a woman, I don't really know much about DIY, so my involvement in the van wasn't as big a part as what Peter was. So the bits that I could do, I kind of took over and made my own. One of the big bits was the cladding for the van. So we bought tongue and groove, and my job was to painstakingly give each piece, and there was a lot of pieces, 2 coats of white paint. Once they dried and Pete had put them on the walls, I then, with wood filler, filled in between the gaps of the 2 bits of tongue and groove, plus where Pete had drilled or screwed them into the van. I then had to cover that with wood filler, then sand over. So I sanded all the bits in between, sanded over the screws, had to refill again, sand again, and then paint it all again. And then it creates a lovely, like, quite flat finish that looks really good. So if you look at the walls here, some bits you can still see the outlines, but most of it is nice and sort of white and sheeny.
The hardest part about doing the cladding was the inserty covey bits. They were a nightmare to do, but we thought it was worth it.
I didn't, to be honest, and I just said to Pete, no, let's just do it completely flat. But you needed them extra couple of inches, because when we sleep, we actually sleep widthways, so that you didn't need to make the bed even longer, didn't you?
That's right, yeah.
And it's now that it's all done after so much hard work, especially from Pete, because he's one that, you know, the wood kept on snapping. You had to keep
lots of swearing.
Yeah, a lot of swearing.
Throwing paddies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then all the filling in and the painting and the sanding.
Divorcing.
Yeah, probably on some occasions, yeah. But now when it's all finished, I think it really adds something quite special to the van, and I'm so glad. The thing is, if something's easy to do, you don't get the benefit from it, whereas you put the extra effort and you really appreciate it once it's done.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie, I did get a lot of inspiration off videos just like this one, and you pick up little bits out of each one where you think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, I'll do that, and kind of borrow from people's ideas. So this is the bed idea that I saw, whereby seating arrangement turns into your bed. But one thing I would change about the van if I was building it again, I'd make the bed smaller, because at the moment you could probably fit about 4 adults side by side in the bed, and it's a bit too big because we kind of get lost in it, don't we?
Yeah.
So if we could have reduced that slightly, we would have had more room to put other things in, like a larger kitchen, or maybe even a small shower.
Yeah, but sometimes you've got to learn by your mistakes, and I think I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to do this for holiday wise before we retire, so then we can actually see what it's important for having a van.
Definitely, yeah.
So a conundrum that we had for the van was to make the base of the bed and the headboard at the back of the bed look a little bit prettier. With the colour scheme of white on the walls, we decided to go for grey, and we thought carpet would be quite a good material because it's pliable, it looks nice, easy to keep clean, and it's quite cheap. So we went to Frank's Factory Flooring in Stockton.
I love carpets, mate.
And we went to the sort of the off-cut aisle, because why pay a little bit extra when you don't need to? So we found a bit, this sort of darker grey colour that was about 4 metres by about 4 metres, cost about £180. And then what I did, because, you know, trying to help out as much as I can, I then stuck I've sprayed some of that floor adhesive to the back of the carpet and onto the wood, and then using a scalpel, a Stanley blade, sorry, then cut out and then made it look pretty, basically. So I covered the inside of the what we call bins, which is the bottom of the bed, the outside, and then the headboard as well, and we think it looks pretty good. So for the bed and the seating, we took advice from Peter's mother, my fantastic mother-in-law, and she recommended GB Foam Direct, and we used sort of, I think it was 10 centimetre thick foam, and then we had it made where it was covered with a special sort of lining, so it would keep
we got the strong stuff as well, didn't we?
Yeah,
not the
you don't want
stuff.
Yeah, you don't want something that's gonna, you know, well, hopefully this is gonna last us till we retire, so you don't want something that's gonna wear away within a couple of years. And then originally I wanted the covering of the foam to be the sheepy cushion material that you can see, but then my mother-in-law did say, you know, you need something hard wearing, so we took her advice, and then we went to this sort of market, I think it was in Darlington, where we had a look at all the hardware and fabrics, and again, keeping in with the colour scheme of the grey, we chose this sort of checked pattern, and then she is fantastic, and she made all the covers, all the cushion covers, within like 2 days, so we were quite impressed. And then when I went to pick them up, we just couldn't wait to try it out, and obviously you can see how excited we look in those pictures there. Then yeah, so the sheepy cushions I really loved, and then I saw these 3 set of cushions from Dunelm Mill. They were just so cute, and it was just something to bring a little bit of colour to the van. So there's like a picture of a pig there, a moo cow, and a little dog that reminds us of Jasper, Pete's mum's dog. And we absolutely love it. It's probably my favourite bit of the van, just because I think it adds a bit of personality and it shows what our personality is, so we really like it, don't we?
Yeah. For the flooring, it was just a simple laminating job. We bought a few packs of this, it was on offer. Again, trying to keep the costs down. I think we bought about 5 or 6 packs, and that did the job lot. For the screen, I'm a very picky sleeper, shall we say. I don't like any light at all, because it'll just wake me straight up. So again, I was watching a video and I saw the guy with the screen, and I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. One of the bonuses that came out of it was that it keeps all the cold that comes in through the cab windows out of our living area, and keeps all the heat in. So every time you open the screen in the mornings, you just feel this waft of cold air hit you in the face, and you think, well, thank goodness that wasn't coming in during our sleep.
Yeah, and in reverse to that, it works by keeping the hot air out, because I remember when we were doing the van, it was really boiling on the morning, and the sun shines straight onto the cab the first thing on the morning, and I think I was painting in the van, and I opened the screen and it suddenly was like 5 degrees warmer, because there's so much warm air that came in. So yeah, it'll work good on hot days as well. And
it really does keep all the light out. It's like blackout inside the van when you put the screen up. You can't see a hand in front of your face, so job done.
Yeah.
So after getting the main priorities done, like the bed and the screen, we started on the kitchen area with the cupboard and the wardrobe.
So the cupboard originally we kind of put together quite quickly, because we were due to take the van to sort of France and Spain over Christmas last year, so it was a bit of a rush on to get that sorted. And what we found is originally we built the cupboard to fit around the little like camping cooker that we have, whereas actually now when we came back and thought about it, we wanted the cooker on the top, so we didn't have to keep on taking it in and out the cupboard.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to rebuild the inside of it again, didn't you, to fit like the fridge and like the solar stuff as well.
The more things you buy for the van, you find that there's no specific area for them to go into. So you have to change things around, even though you've already built and spent time building your cupboard area, your layouts. You have to undo it all and do it all again, but your comfort in the van is the most important thing. So it doesn't matter if you have to spend time undoing things, just make sure you get it right the second, third, fourth time through experience of using the equipment for what you need. So originally we thought, we don't need power in the van, we're only going to be away in it a few days, and if we need lights we can use torches and candles, and we can charge our phones when we're driving about through the USB plug in the front. We don't need power, but you do.
You definitely do. I think if you're going, especially if you're going to places that you've never been before, you're always on your phone using your sat nav. It drains a lot more battery than what you think, and you're not going to recharge. Like in an hour's journey, you're not going to recharge your phone in that time. So you did a lot of research, didn't you, online?
Yeah.
You watched a lot of videos, and you know, you put together a good system, didn't you?
And if you want to see a video on our solar system, please visit the channel and scroll through and you'll find the video specifically for the solar power.
So we decided, I quite like the look of LED lights, so we went on Amazon, didn't we, had a little look, and where the van, sort of there's little coves in the wall, we thought it would be quite good to have a set of LED lights just above sort of the kitchen area, so I can see what I'm doing on an evening when I'm cooking. And then we had a set of lights just going along where the bed is, so then we can sit on an evening and read.
They've been a godsend, the strip lights.
Yeah, and they weren't very expensive, and they don't use that much power, do they?
No, about 14 watts an hour.
Yeah.
It's nothing compared to what we've got in the battery.
Yeah, and they change colour, so you can have a disco if you want to, which we won't.
We're not disco people.
No, we're definitely not.
But hey, come along to the van if you see us, and we'll
We'll have a disco
yeah,
for
we'll
you.
have a disco for you. So after all our hard work, as you can see, this is kind of the finished article. There's still some little bits to do, but
you know, the thing is, you buy a van, you can't just stay at home until it's completely finished. You've just got to start enjoying it. And we've been away in the van for like 12 days at a time, and it's perfectly livable.
it's very livable.
Yeah, if I had to live in the van, some changes would have to be made, but as a holiday van, we're more than pleased with it.
So all we really need to do now is finish off the doors. We've decided to put canvas print over the top of them with a nice picture of...
So Rosebery Topping, one of our
Could be
favourite
one of them.
places, yeah.
We've done a couple of videos on that if you want to go and watch.
Yeah, it kind of reminds us of home, and we were even thinking about doing one of like me, you and Rufus, weren't we?
Yeah, Rufus is our dog.
Yeah, our little fur baby, and just so, I mean, he'd have loved the van, and sometimes I think maybe that's why Peter made the beds so big, because if he'd have still been with us, he'd have taken up all the bed.
All of it.
So yeah, so that's something that's on the agenda, but you know, we're going to be busy training for races over the next sort of year or so. So hopefully we'll be able to do sort of an update video with the canvas doors eventually done.
Yeah. So if you've liked this video, please go and like and subscribe.
And please just look through our videos. If you like them, then give us a big thumbs up, and any comments or anything that you want any advice on for your van build, then just leave them in the comments. See you soon.